Hello, I'm Quadra, and this is TAT, my tabletop audio tool. TAT is a tool I made for people who run tabletop role-playing games and like to use some audio ambience to enhance the atmosphere of their game night. Usually people will make a playlist or manually switch between songs while running a session. I've certainly done that. And I thought it'd be nice to have a little tool I could use to manage my music and soundscapes without having to pull myself out of the moment to think about what song to pick next. So I made TAT. The main idea behind TAT is you have this big canvas. You can pan and zoom, and you have this little dot, the listener, that you can drag around. So these are area sounds, which play their track at a consistent volume no matter where the listener is inside them. And they ramp up and down as you enter and exit, so it's not a hard cut. That's an update from the previous version. And they're defined by this set of points. You can drag the points around, you can click them to delete them, and you can click these midpoints to add new points. So in this video, I'm going to go through all of TAT's features, all the new ones in this update, and also the ones that were already in here. So I think the best way to show how to use it is to use it. So first, I'm going to convert these sounds into local sounds and grab a few more. These are by Extractor, who I commissioned to make a series of tracks that could be used in Mothership games, in particular for seedy kind of cyberpunk space station settings. We'll be putting this out soon as a TAT pack and album, so this video will be a little preview of that as well. Okay, so in TAT, the two big things you'll be working with are images and sounds. You can get them in your project using the Add Media button, or you can just drag and drop them into the app from your file browser. This image is an inverted screenshot from A Pound of Flesh, the excellent Mothership module by Tuesday Night Games. It's a diagram of a simple space station from their space station generator kit, and it's kind of a point crawl with these 5 locations. So when you bring an image into TAT, you can drag it around, you can resize it, hold Shift to keep its proportions. And this is a new feature. If you flip it over an edge, the image will flip, in case you want to have, I don't know, weird mirror worlds or something. Okay, so this looks good to me. I'll just make sure that it's the right proportions. And I can also double click it to lock it in place. You can see over here, this dotted line indicates that it's locked. And I can double click that to unlock it, hit this plus to duplicate it. And you can adjust the opacity with this little bar on the left, either by scrolling or just by clicking. All right, so let's say that this is a messed up space station in the style of Prospero's Dream from A Pound of Flesh, and this central hub is kind of the downtown city area. So let's take this track, the neon lit city, and drop it in the center. Now let's say area 2 is kind of a black market, underground, hacker, data broker, hangout kind of area. So we'll take track 2, black market data uplink, and stick it over there. Okay, area 3, let's say that's a more industrial kind of zone. So we'll bring stalked through back alleys over there. Area 4, this will be kind of the hab stacks, the habitation zone, kind of a slummy residential area. And then area 5, let's say this is an area where something really bad has happened and it's been kind of cordoned off from the rest of the station. So we'll use the place that should not exist over there. All right, so this is a very basic setup. We can take our listener and bring it into this main area here. And with these local sounds, the closer you get to the center, the louder the sound gets. And when you're outside the circle, it's inaudible. Which, as you can see, creates these sort of natural crossfades between different areas. So to make this a more kind of comprehensive soundscape, let's adjust these shapes a little bit. Let's scale these up a bit. So there is this opening here. So 2 and 3 are never realistically going to blend together. And I want to keep these circles from overlapping the center too much. So I'll keep expanding these a little bit and get these transition areas to be, more or less even. So now we have this opening up here, which we can directly access this, the neon lit city. Let's get that central. So now you can see we can have the players approach the central city and then move through all the other areas very seamlessly. Now that we have this set up, we can just double click on each of these sounds. We could also do that in the list up here and lock them in place so we don't accidentally drag them around. We can also just hit the eyeball button up here to hide them entirely, and they'll still play. So now I'm ready to run the session, from a sound perspective at least. So I can scale this window way down if I want, and hide this sidebar, and I can just have this in the corner of my screen with my notes or a PDF or whatever on the rest of my screen, and this is just my little control panel. Now when I'm running my session, I can drag this listener to represent the player's location, and that's nice because it helps me track where they are, but also as they're moving around the station, the music will automatically update to reflect their location. Alright, so one other thing to note here is if we show the sounds and hide the images, and let's unlock these. So you can also just forego images entirely and take a more abstract approach, where instead of these representing physical spaces, they more represent moods or situations. So maybe by default, they're here in the middle, but then in a more tense situation, you just drag them over here, and they're, facing off with some biomechanical horror. Okay, that's the most basic feature set. Now, you can also introduce some other behaviors to these sounds. Some obvious ones are muting and soloing. You can also choose to have sounds loop or not. They all loop by default, but if I hit this, so this icon changes, now when it plays to the end, it will just stop. We can skip ahead to that by just clicking on the play track. And we'll see it stop. There you go. So in addition to all that, we have this button. This is the trigger button. Now, by default, sounds are triggered manually. That's this button here. It just means that you pause and play the sound by clicking. Let's unsolo this and unmute this. Right, so it's under your direct control. But we can also specify a trigger for each sound. So if I take the listener out and I click this button, so this is play on enter. It means that the sound is paused, and you actually can't unpause it in this mode. But when the listener comes into contact with the sound, it will start playing, and it goes back to manual control mode. A variation on this is restart on enter. You can see that the track is currently partway through, and when the listener touches the circle, the track restarts and starts playing. Once again, it reverts back to manual control afterwards. So this can be really useful if you want to make sure that players hear a track from the beginning when they first encounter it. A few other playback modes. The arrow in the circle means play inside. So this only plays the track while the listener is inside it. As soon as you leave, the track pauses. You go back in and it picks up right where you left off. Now there's another variation on this, which is restart inside. This behaves the same way, having the track play while you're inside and pause when you're outside. But when you go back inside, the track will restart. And it will do this every time. And the final trigger mode is timer. So in timer mode, we have hours, minutes, and seconds. And you can either use the mouse wheel to change these, or you can just click on them and type in whatever number you want. These can go up to 99 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. I doubt anyone will ever need to use that, but who knows? You could use this as an alarm clock if you really wanted to. So let's set this to a short time, let's say 5 seconds. Now, in this mode, this play button plays the timer, not the track. Also, this loop button loops the timer, not the track. So we'll get the listener inside and click this button, and the timer will count down from 5 and then start playing the track. And then the timer restarts. So every time the timer reaches the end, it restarts the track, which could produce some cool effects, but probably is not what you want all the time. So what you can do in that case is change the loop mode from loop to don't loop. And now, when you play it, after the timer ticks down, it starts playing, and the timer just resets. And now you can change it again and do whatever you want. And in timer mode, tracks do not loop. So let's say we take Neon Lit City, that's sort of the nicest one, and Stalk Through Back Alleys is a little more intense, a little scarier. Lock those. We can make the Neon Lit City global, and we can make Stalk Through Back Alleys global as well. So let's say you're on this space station, and halfway through your 2-hour session, you know that you want pirates to attack the station, and you've decided that this track, track 3, is the perfect soundtrack for that. So what you can do in that case is change this to timer mode, and it's got a default of 30 seconds. We can just bring that up to 1 hour, pull that down, and when you start the session, you just hit play, and after an hour, this track will play. So that could be fun. For another great use for the timer, let me pull in another sound. I will make it a global sound as well, and I'll have it happen on a timer. Let's just bring the timer down to 10 seconds. So we'll hit play, and you're running your session, your players think all is well, but you know that at a certain time, something is going to happen. Okay, and that's pretty much TAT. You can click this little eye icon down here to open up this info panel, and basically whatever you mouse over, it'll tell you about that thing, and if there's a keyboard shortcut, it'll tell you that as well. There are a couple other big things in this update. If we go to the settings menu, you can see that there are a few settings. Big surprise. Hide window contents from stream will just black out the contents of the TAT window if you are sharing your screen. This can be helpful if you're playing remote sessions over Discord or whatever. If you want to stream the music to your players and you want to show them pictures of monsters and stuff, this will prevent them from seeing what's actually in TAT. And there you go. That's what it looks like. Invert UI scroll direction is what it sounds like. That's for this. So right now I'm scrolling down, it scrolls down. What direction you want it to move when you scroll is a personal preference. Proportional image scaling on by default, shift turns off. By default, when you're scaling an image, it's free scale, and holding shift turns on proportional scaling. You can just flip that with this. UI scroll sensitivity. In the previous version of TAT, scroll sensitivity could vary a lot between different operating systems. That should be mostly fixed now, but you still might want to adjust the sensitivity of the scroll. Here we have listener movement speed for the keyboard. So the listener, you can actually move it around with WASD. The arrow keys move the viewport. Next is language. So right now there's only English, but TAT now has full localization support, and I'm actually looking for people who can help translate this. I'm not interested in using machine translation. If you'd be interested in helping out, let me know. And finally, theme. TAT doesn't have to be this crazy orange color. I made it this way initially because black, white, and orange are the color scheme of my module, Warped Beyond Recognition, but now TAT defaults to a dark theme, and it's a little easier on the eyes. There's also a light theme, which looks like this. Let's go to dark for now. I plan to make more themes down the road and also make it possible for you to create and import your own themes. That's not in yet, but that's coming. So that's TAT in its current state. There's plenty more to do, and I'm sure there's plenty of bugs that I'll need to fix in the coming weeks. It still doesn't have a public release. It was originally made available as a secondary reward for my Kickstarter backers of Warped Beyond Recognition, and again for backers of my second Kickstarter, The Blades of Gixa, both of which include soundtracks by my friend, the very talented Galen Drew, and those soundtracks are kind of what spawned the idea to create this whole system. Now, 0.5 is actually a pretty major rewrite of a lot of core systems of TAT. I ripped out a lot of libraries that I had been using before and re-implemented them more or less from scratch to do exactly what I needed and give myself a lot more control. That means this infinite canvas is entirely bespoke. The way the audio is handled now uses the native web audio API, which is more challenging to use, but also gives me way more control over the sound, and seeing what it can do has already sparked a lot of ideas for future features. I'll be putting out bug fixes as people report bugs in the weeks to come, but this will probably be the last major update to TAT for a while. I'll definitely come back to it, but my focus right now is really on finishing the Blades of Gixa, and there's a lot of work to do there yet. If you want to get a copy of TAT and try it out, there is another way to get it. You can become a paid member at my website, paradiso.zone. The newsletter is free. You can just sign up for that to find out what I'm doing. I try to send one out about every month, and you can join the ranks of these lovely folks and support my work and future development of TAT. That's at paradiso.zone. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your support.